Uncommon is a production by Neuralle, a full-service digital agency. If you want to grow with a premium agency and have the ability to work with Jordan directly, then learn more at neuralle.com/media and request a callback. That's neuralle.com/media.
My name's Jordan Michaelides and I'm the host of Uncommon, a show that asks the why on business, media, current affairs and sport. This Uncommon Corona editions sees us catching up with prior guests that have been on the show to document how they're actually adapting to this once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, I guess you could call it. If you like the episode, of course, please do subscribe on YouTube. Hit that like button. It helps us, of course, with the algorithm. Show notes for all guests, including previous ones, can be found at neuralle.com/uncommon. For audio, if you want to listen on podcasts, just search Uncommon on all your good podcast apps. And for social, to keep up to date behind the scenes, search at @uncommon_show. With that all being said, thanks for tuning in and let's get into the episode. My guest this week is Suzi Jamil, friend of the show, founder and director of Think Inc. She's gotten dolled up for us. Suzi, thanks for coming on.
Of course, it's a pleasure. It's great to see you again, Jordan.
How's your sneaker collection going? Have you been browsing much? Since in the isolation?
At the start of the ISO, I did purchase a couple of sneakers. A couple of Air Maxes and different things. And I don't know why I bought it at the start of the ISO. I mean, I haven't worn them not once because I've not really left the house all that much. But and what I should have invested in was some actual running shoes because that's something I have been doing, but I didn't invest in that. So no, it's pretty good. They're not really getting much wear, to be honest with you. I'm not really being able to show off, but they're sitting there waiting for us all to escape our houses soon.
Do you know? God, it was like not long after your episode, I had Dan Monheit back on, who's a bit of a sneakerhead as well. And he told me about, what's that exchange where you could buy and sell sneakers?
Oh, well, there's StockX, there's Coach. Yeah.
StockX.
So does he use it?
He has, yeah. Also, I noticed, and I just want to have a quick look at it. I noticed Gary Vee was talking about it because they must have, I think he said he acquired like a small portion or something like that because they've started selling baseball cards and other collectibles on the site. So it was originally Sneakers Streetwear. It looks like sneakers and streetwear mainly. Yeah. And now they've got a whole section, handbags now. Fuck. And watches.
I'm not surprised. It's a reseller market, which is essentially where you go where you want to get rorted on a product that you couldn't buy in the first instance. That's the reseller market. Buying anything resale is it's extortion, but you get it because you're on the hype. You know, you want what's hot. And Supreme is the most massive reseller brand, I think. Like anything Supreme that's resale, it's huge. Like if you go to a Supreme store, a t-shirt's a regular, $50 or something. And then a reseller, it's like $2,000 for a t-shirt. That's probably just AS color or something. Like it's not like fancy material. We don't even know where it's sourced from. We don't know what it's made from. It's just the brand. I'm on that hype trip. Like I'm not, I'm not talking shit on others. This is my hype trip too. And I get that. But when you sit back and you reflect, it's a crazy place. Really.
Do you know I saw something that related to this quite recently. It was when the futures contracts for oil had gone negative.
Yes.
And that was mainly because it was so expensive to store oil that in terms of delivery of futures contracts, suppliers were willing to basically give you oil. Now people think that seems amazing, but it costs like $30,000 a day to store, oil essentially in a facility that's appropriate for it. Or let's say on a boat, let's say if you have a tanker, that costs $400,000 a day to store it. So you can see why they wanted to get rid of that shit. But it was fucking hilarious because someone was like, problem fixed. And of course, this is on Wall Street Bets on subreddit. On Reddit, the subreddit for Wall Street Bets, and it's got like barrel of oil, and then next to it is like a red barrel of oil with Supreme on it, and there's just like problem solved. which I thought was...
Oh, man, it's so true. It's so true. It's shocking, but it's real. I know. Very interesting, though.
So we were chatting off air about where we are now.
Yeah.
I've spoken with every guest about this and talking about this sort of scarification moment, or like, you know, the moment that we'll speak to our kids and grandkids about, so to speak.
Yeah.
Do you see this moment as that?
100%. I don't think that the world will ever go back to what it was, ever in the same way. I think this will change the rest of our lives, essentially. I think that in my industry in particular, in arts, entertainment, in industries where anyone congregates, it will make everyone more wary. And I think that for us, our generation will be the ones, you know, those old people that are like, be careful when you go out on the streets, you know, keep your mask on. That's going to be us. I don't know, I've said this to my friends recently. I've been saying I've got to find some designer masks, because even after this, I think that we're going to probably adopt a mask culture that's going to become fashionable. I'll wait till I can get my Supreme mask, John. And I really do think that it's going to change our lives. And I think in general, probably we will decrease the amount that we shake hands with one another, decrease the amount that we hug one another. We'll be more aware of this. And I think that there has been more awareness in other countries outside of Australia, other countries which do don the mask more often than we do. And they were more prepared for this. We have done incredibly well, like no doubt, but they were more prepared. As soon as it hit, they were like, okay, this is the plan of attack. And they dealt with things really nicely. And so I think that will happen here in Australia as well. So I definitely think that it has been scary. And I also don't know that, like, it's going to take a little while to just get back to regular social norms. Like,
it's going to be weird. Like, I'm trying to work out, you said before about hugging and kissing people and shaking hands. It's confusing because, you know, in Western culture, shaking hands has been a thing for so long. For so long. And then, you know, think about like our family's sort of Mediterranean culture is to hug and to kiss,
absolutely.
Right? I don't think I'm going to, I love physical contact. That's the thing that I've struggled with the most.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I definitely think you're right. It's going to take a long time, but I think eventually maybe once the vaccine is in, that people will start going back to that. But there will be things that will change forever. Like, as an example, whenever I come home now, I go straight to the bathroom and I clean the absolute shit out of my hands. Now, that seems so normal now, but for some reason, not many people did that, or I didn't do that when I used to come home. Like, maybe I'd do it before eating or touching certain things or whatever it may be. But my first thought was never, okay, straight to the bathroom,
absolutely.
have to clean my hands. And now, like, I'm very, very cognizant of that. I wonder if that will change how many colds people will get every year. Just little things like that.
I think we will all become more hygienic. I'm hoping so. And I'm hoping that we'll keep up the cleaning practices that we're kind of instilling as well. You know, cleaning things with disinfectant, using soap more. I think that, you know, that'll probably become big business into the future. So hand sanitizer and, you know, disinfectant. So I don't think that's such a bad thing. I think that, you know, there was a lot of predictions that this was going to happen eventually, and it's just happened to happen during our lifetimes. And maybe it's just a wake-up call for us to act differently from this point forward. I'm with you though. I miss human contact so much. Like, I really just want to be held and loved and cuddled so much right now. But, you know, I'm also one of those people who are being kind of hyper aware and being very careful about my actions during this time.
Yeah. You just reminded me of this whole China inquiry, which is gathering speed at the moment. I want to come back to that a bit later though, because we were chatting beforehand about when did we first notice this? And I guess I was lucky because of work that we started to notice something sort of just before New Year's Eve. People were speaking about this virus. And I thought, okay, it's another fucking virus in China.
Totally.
And then I decided to really take notice like mid-Jan,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed there was a run on toilet paper in Singapore and Tokyo, in Japan in particular.
Yes.
And so Lauren and I were in Japan during their last typhoon in October when there was
Right.
where it was mental, and I distinctly remember going to supermarkets because we had to be locked down for 48 hours and there was nothing. And it scared the absolute shit out of me. Like we basically lived on ramen noodles, random dumplings. There was no vegetables or fruit or anything. It was all gone. And like little things that we could buy from 7-Eleven or Lawson, which was still open in the middle of a typhoon.
Right.
So like sandwiches and like fried chicken and stuff like that. That's literally all we ate for 2 days. So in my mind, it was freshly ingrained. Like, I don't want to have this happen again. So we started getting a few little things to prepare, but I just didn't even think about the toilet paper. And then there was everyone going fucking ballistic about toilet paper. And we were out of it immediately, having to buy like fucking, what do you call it? The paper towel and stuff like that. Or we'd go to like the, IGA Express and hope that just before close, they've got some that's come in. So I guess
you were one of the early hoarders, but you missed out on the most important thing to hoard.
Well, we didn't even hoard. That's the thing, is we didn't have any tinned food at home.
Oh man.
So we only bought like maybe 2 weeks of tinned stuff, and luckily we haven't really needed tinned stuff and a few frozen things. So I bought like 1 or 2 leg roasts which are frozen and we've now used. So it wasn't actually that much. I hated tin stuff as a kid.
Totally.
So, I guess I'm curious from your perspective when, thinking about Sean's tour.
Yeah.
When did you first start to notice?
Yeah, well, I kind of was fully focused on touring Sean Carroll in February. And I kind of heard inklings before the tour, and I was like, okay, my mind starts ticking over. All right, well, there's something going on. There's a virus spreading. What's going to happen? Are people still going to buy tickets for the other shows, blah, blah, blah. And it was during Sean's tour that I had just put on sale a tour for the month after. And it's not something I normally do. I give myself, 5-6 months lead time. But it was about climate change. And I was like, no, we have to do this now because the bushfires just happened. Got to put Michael Mann, climate scientist, on sale now. So I did that. It was during tour. I was getting artworks. And I was like talking to Sean, brainstorming titles for the tour. And then we hear more about this. It's spreading more. Okay. And then Sean says to us while we're on tour, I was like, oh, maybe we should all get masks. Sean's like, no, Suze, don't worry. The particle's too small. Just get through the mask. I was like, okay, so no point getting masks. Sean leaves the country. We go into full, on sale mode for our tour for Michael Mann. Meanwhile, I'm saying, when we go on sale, should we put out a virtual event ticket? Because, this pandemic might... And then we made the decision that we weren't going to because we were like, let's just let it play out. And then it hit to a point where I was like, we're going to have to cancel the tour. It wasn't even, there was no kind of in between. It was kind of, we launched the tour. We were like, do we do a virtual event? No. And we have to cancel the event. But what we actually did was we postponed the events. We had Michael Mann coming up literally in April. I'm distressed that I'm not on tour right now, that I'm at home. And then we had Peter Singer for June. So we had to postpone both tours. And I wasn't taking any risks. I wasn't like, let's postpone it till, June or August. I was like, no, 2021. That way I know that we're going to be able to do it. Now, I'm like, I actually don't think international borders are going to be open. Maybe they won't be. And if they won't be, then we have to make some more decisions. So that's kind of the spot that I'm in. It's a bit of a tricky one. But, we've transitioned. But when everyone else was hoarding, I went to the shops a couple of times and grabbed some things. We weren't, my parents were a little bit slow to agree that it was important that they stock up their cupboard. So I was kind of trying to walk through that, and I brought a few things, but I did say, I'm a vegetarian, but I did say that I would eat canned tuna if we had to. If we were in proper lockdown, I was like, you know what? I'll expand this out a little bit. I'll eat canned tuna if I have to.
I've noticed, by the way, I've noticed that a few vegetarians have been willing to pick up fish again.
Yeah, totally. Well, if we have to, we have to, we have to put humankind first. But yeah, so I don't know. It was really a journey. It was really difficult. It was a really quick turnaround for us. And I don't know when my business will be able to get back on track in the same way that it was.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing, right?
Yeah, it's incredibly scary for someone whose life is around, yes, firstly, raising rational discourse, number one, but number two, my life is around people congregating. And without that, our business is not the same business that it was. And you cannot recreate that without people coming together. And so it's been a struggle. It's definitely taken, of course, a financial toll, but an emotional toll, a mental health toll. We're trying to stay incredibly positive, and I've done everything I could to keep things running as smoothly as possible, but it's been a big transition. I've managed to keep my staff on, still at their full salaries so far, but I've warned them that if we can't get this off the ground in the form that it is, then we're going to have to think about it and talk about it. But it's really hard. It's very hard.
It is very hard. We're lucky here, maybe in comparison to the States, with the things that the government has been able to help people with. Like, I can say that JobKeeper thing, holy fuck, that is going to be a massive help for us.
Yeah.
Like, I know even our industry will not be as badly hit as yours, but sales are down like 60% or 50%.
Yeah.
And everything's pivoted towards certain services, which is good because, like I've had this feeling for a while that the economy was not in a strong position, and really what we're seeing now is something that was going to happen but has been forced upon us. And so I think that if you can survive, and I think that if you're this far already, you've got the wherewithal to survive, because I've already seen competitors of ours that say they only just do video, have already, like, I remember them closing down like a month or so ago.
Yeah.
And they had all these different services where they're like, they provided like unlimited video editing or something like that, and they just canned those services completely. Like, sorry, we can't offer that anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just, you've just got to adapt. I mean, we've done a bunch of different landing pages and stuff like that. We've come up with a new form of marketing consulting, which is crisis marketing, which is interesting. It's either you've got to either your service, which is probably one of 4 industries, is booming, or you're the rest of us, where everything's gone to shit and you need to basically adapt to what you're doing right now. So that's been really, really helpful.
Yes.
Look, even if we can get on calls with people and see if that sort of stuff can help, is good.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess for you, I'm sort of thinking when you said everything went from 0 to 100, it would have been probably that. Everyone talks about that Friday. I remember it as the Friday that the Grand Prix and a bunch of festivals were cancelled, like Fashion Week here in Melbourne was cancelled. So it may have been around that same time.
Yeah.
How have you now pivoted? What does sort of your week look like?
Yeah. So for me, that moment was when the Festival of Dangerous Ideas pulled the plug, because I was like, I'm fine. If Fody can run, thinking can run its events. And then I called them up and I spoke to them. I was like, hey, because I have a contact there. I was like, hey, is everything going to plan? And she gave me the typical PR response. And so far, everything's going to plan. We haven't cancelled yet, blah, blah, blah. Later that day, pulled the plug. I was like, okay. So we shifted completely from on-stage live events to online live events. And that's been a really interesting transition. It's been really exciting. It's kind of cool because I'm learning a whole new skill set that I didn't even perceive that I would need. And we've been talking about live streaming our events for years, and
now it's made you do it.
My arm's been twisted. Now I have to do it. But what we've done is we haven't just, we're not just live streaming our on-stage events. We've created a whole new series. So we created a new series called Outside the Box, which is obviously a play on the Think Inc. logo. And within that series, we've put together a bunch of different incredible talent that we've been showcasing, and we're just getting in our groove, you know, where we're offering something that's different than just a webinar. So we're using a software that you're able to actually go in, chat like you might on Zoom, but also you can network with people face to face. You can put your webcam on, and it's like kind of like speed dating, but without the dating part. Put your webcam on and you can meet them for 5 minutes and you can choose to network with them.
What's the name of the software? It's
called Hopin. That's the one I'm using at the moment. It might change, but hey, we're testing the waters with this now. So we're using that. You can network, you can go into separate sessions, you can have expo booths. So that's pretty cool. We're doing that, and then we're kind of back-ending it with some of the software so that we can produce our show really nicely, because, you know, we're a bit extra. We don't just put two faces on the screen. We've got our pre-roll videos. We've got our, DJ playing the front of the show, and then you come in and, you've got transition videos and all that. So we make it a little bit extra because that's what we are at Think Inc. And our target demographic, as you know, is a bit younger. So they have that expectation of us, and we roll like that anyway. So, that's been kind of fun. It's not the same as touring. It's not the same as traveling. It's not the same as congregating, but it's offering people the same experience of sharing ideas, asking questions, being in a room with like-minded people, even though it's a virtual room. And so I feel like our mantra and our mission of what we're trying to do with our business can still exist in this virtual realm, which I'm so excited about, because it's so important that we stay on our path. If we were to hibernate for 2 years, people might lose interest. They might lose that, yearning for ideas. So I think for us, it's just been so important to do that. The other thing that we've done is we're starting to put these videos online. So you're going to be able to go to the thinking page and actually rewatch the videos, at a price, because we're profit for purpose, but we're still for profit, and watch these videos and re-engage. And so, it's really kind of twisted my arm to shifting the way I think about the digital realm. And I don't think that's going away, Jordan. Like, I just don't think even after this pandemic passes, are we going to be like, oh yeah, erase all that digital stuff, let's just so this means after the pandemic, we're going to be recording our shows, chopping them up, throwing them online. We're going to have interactive sessions with our talent. It's opened my mind up to it. I don't love every element of it. It's really exhausting, but I think in general it's changed the way that I see it, and it's been a really positive change.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I was thinking, when I was looking through everything the other night, does something happen where you do the standard tours, but then there might be like a flash tour or a pop-up tour where it's sort of like a topic has been in the news in the last month and it's come up, and then all of a sudden, a Sam Harris of the world might be able to do an online tour type scenario. I don't know, but there's definitely something there. There's, this device that I was showing you before, like, has sold out in Australia. So, and like there's streaming devices that we've looked at to upgrade our equipment, which is sold out. So it tells me that a lot of people, one, would expect it nowadays, but two, have the capabilities now. Like, it's sort of just pushed everyone forward into that Twitch streaming world.
I know. Do you fear that there will be an overload of content? Do you fear that...
There already was.
I know, but what about now?
I don't know.
What I feel positively about is that our market is niche. You can access this stuff on YouTube, but it's not the same as being there at the event. It's just not the same as being there during the live event where you can ask questions and they get answered by the talent. It's a different offering in that sense. But yeah, I worry that there might be an oversupply of content after this, and how do we deal with that? Or should that not matter so much, because there's so many people in the world that we can always build out our audiences like that?
I think what happens, just from my knowledge of producing content, what eventually happens is that people who don't gain traction just fall to the wayside and give up. So I think that there may be an initial splurge in this stage. I know that we've held back from doing more podcast episodes and just made them more current, so bringing them closer to the publishing date, which has been very handy. But I have noticed some people that, like, we have a podcast that we like and that I've been on in the past. It's called The Daily Talk Show. But all of a sudden they've gone to doing 2 a day live. And I just don't know how you can how you can do that. It would drive me insane personally.
I think what that is it's a knee-jerk reaction. And I felt the same way when this initially happened. I was like, we got to do this now. It's a knee-jerk reaction. I'm actually really glad we did it quick, because I think that was an important differentiating factor between us and some other organizations, that we just launched straight into it and we did it quick. But I think that it's not important to oversupply content. We're going to scale it back to not supplying content weekly, but to supplying content every 2 weeks. And I think that's fine for our market. But I think that is initial knee-jerk reaction is like, we want to be in there. We don't want to lose out. We want to get in front of people quickly.
I just believe in quality.
Yes.
So that's just, I just know that's what I do well. Not everyone's like that, but I feel like to really stand out, you have to do things that stand out.
Absolutely. And you do that well. Yeah.
So we'll see. I think for those guys, it works because they're more like a radio show. But I think for a bunch of, like, one thing I have seen is how many hobby podcasters and like YouTube channels have sprung out from this, which is good because there will be things that will be found from this, but there's also a lot of shit out there nowadays. So I think, but there really is something to be said about persistence. Like, you know, we when we interviewed you and some of the higher profile people, we were sort of 2.5 years into it. The first 2 years we were really shoveling shit.
Yes.
So I don't know. There's something to be said to that. If I can see people persist, I've got respect for that.
Yeah. No, I definitely 100% agree with you. But I'm also on the bandwagon for putting out some new YouTube content. I've been recording my dad cooking some ethnic meals, and I'm starting a YouTube channel for him. It's not launched quite yet, but that's something that I've been hobbying about while we've been in ISO. So I mean, that's been a bit of fun.
I said that to you a while ago. Like, I want to see some videos of your old man cooking. Did you post something on Instagram, like a few stories here and there?
Well, I posted some of the food that he's been making while I've been filming it, for sure.
What has he made?
Oh, he's made, he makes a lot of fresh bread. He made a barbecue one episode. He made fresh flatbreads, which he put za'atar in, and then he made like a salad za'atar wrap. He made cheese bread with olives and, of course, like all the herbs and spices on top of it. He made little dumplings, deep-fried dumplings with ricotta cheese and sugar inside. It's been a trip. It's been a journey that we've been on of this incredibly delicious food. He's made some fish and chips, like different stuff. But like, I'm leaning him towards the ethnic stuff. And I just think that'll be so cool. You know, even if it doesn't get that much traction, it's great for me that I can show, you know, if I ever have a baby in the future, show my future generations what Granddad Fevsy made for dinner.
Yeah, I wish I could see that. I remember my grandfather, unfortunately, well, he passed away when I was about 6, but he was an amazing cook. And that's something that my dad still talks about to this day.
Wow.
But I never have seen any photos or videos of him cooking and what it actually looked like. I just know the things that he cooked.
Yeah.
Based on what Dad has told me. So I really do wish I had that. Do you have many like videos of you as a kid?
There are a few. My dad was a photographer, so I have a lot of photos of myself as a baby, but not that much video, unfortunately. I know there's some from birthday parties and things. I wish there was a little bit more. Do you?
No, my mum had recorded it, but somewhere along the way it got lost.
Oh, what is it?
It was just birthday parties, or like I remember one, we were at gymnastics class. I just remember Lauren keeps saying to me, I just wish I could see little Jordan. And she's got heaps. She's got heaps of videos because she's an only child and her dad loved, he did photography for a bit.
Yes.
Like he was a very passionate photographer. I don't think he did it for a career.
Yes.
He bought like one of the old camcorders and
yes.
There's so many fucking funny ones in there. Like her birthday parties, like with the crying face, is a constant.
Oh, I've seen pictures on her Instagram of her as a baby, and she's a cute one for sure.
Yeah, very, very cute.
But I don't think that's going to be an issue into the future. Us with our iPhones, we've got them out everywhere.
Yeah, and, I think it's going to be a bit too much, actually.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Well, I'm not sure if you're expecting to get I know there's this PAYG credit that my accountant tells me about.
Yeah.
I don't actually know when that thing comes through. I've heard that it's this quarter's BAS and next quarter's as well.
Yeah, it depends on your earnings. Yeah.
Exactly. There's the JobKeeper, which has been a big help. If you were to get some sort of, like, I've heard that this credit is like 10 grand minimum. I've already planned out in my head what that investment would look like to allow us to do more things or make more money. Is there something in your mind that you want to knock off a list?
Yeah. See,
if you were to get that credit?
We should be entitled to the credit, but I think it's a bit different than you guys, because for us, the credit will go towards paying the PAYG of the staff, of my staff, and the JobKeeper goes towards paying my staff because our revenues dropped by 95%.
So, yeah.
So, I think it's a bit different because, if I was running the business myself and I was paying myself, then I could be like, all right, I won't take a salary, or I'll use that and I can invest that. But unfortunately, I have one staff member who can receive it, and I have one who actually can't receive it because he's on a visa. So I know. So, but I don't want to say, oh, well, and I wouldn't do this anyway. He's my right hand and he's incredibly valuable to me. To say, well, I can't keep you on because I don't get JobKeeper is not fair. All I can say is, let's keep making money because I have to keep paying you. So I think that's a little different for us, because everything that we pay is, it will really help us stay afloat. But it unfortunately is not going to help me grow and expand during this time. The only way I can grow and expand is by investing some of my own money, some of my own earnings back into the business and using that. And we've also been lucky to get a loan as well. So we can use the loan to make sure that we're able to keep we can keep ourselves afloat with it and keep ourselves going. But unfortunately, at this point, we don't have, except for our online live events, there's no other way for us to generate revenue. Our revenue generation is based on the sales of tickets at our events. And if we can't run events, then we have no revenue generation. And no one's going to buy a ticket to an event that's in February or June 2021. So I've been really, really grateful that the government has been supportive enough to offer us JobKeeper and the reimbursement for the PAYG, and also that the New South Wales government has offered us a small business grant of $10,000. I don't know if I'm successful for that or not. There's also been a bunch of arts grants and big businesses that have been providing grants. And I want to invest all that money that we're getting from that into our online live events, because we still have to pay talent. We still have to pay all our subscriptions. I have to still pay my staff. So unfortunately, as much as I'd love to spend this time growing and expanding, at the moment I'm staying afloat and trying to grow and expand our online market.
What has the last few months been like for you personally? Have there been tears?
Oh, yeah. Haven't we all been crying? Like, is that not a thing that we're all doing? Oh, yeah. At first, it was like, go, go, go. And I was like, I'm doing great. Everyone else is feeling this. I'm not feeling this. And I don't know, one day it just dropped and I was like, damn, I need to be hugged. And so of course, like I've been dealing with it just at a simple mental health level. Kind of, I've taken up meditation, which I think has really helped, which I've always struggled to get into. But I downloaded the app Headspace, and I paid for it, so that's a commitment. And I've been doing my meditation sometimes twice a day. Sometimes I'll meditate and then I'll use it for sleeping. Which has been really helpful. And I've also learned that I need break time. When we work from home, it's what I was doing was I'd wake up, I'd go to my laptop, and I'd just start working, and I'd work all the way out until maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock. But now what I do is I wake up, I go for my run, I try and work out in the gym downstairs in the garage. And then I'll start
What's in the gym?
Well, I ordered my gym equipment on the 23rd of March.
Jesus.
Has it arrived? No. So I'm waiting for my proper gym equipment. I ordered a bench, I ordered a bar, I ordered the weights, I ordered the dumbbells. Hasn't arrived. So I'm using, my dad has some dumbbells I'm using. They're not enough weight for me though. I'm using my mat and I'm using my band to exercise with that.
The
and
old booty bands.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't have a bar, so I can't do a proper booty workout. So I'm struggling a little bit with that, I'm going to be honest with you, Jordan. But
yeah,
and then I'll start my day.
The body weight stuff is really hard.
What's that?
The body weight based, like not having a barbell is really hard.
Exactly. It's really difficult. But yeah, so I'm trying to do that, and then I'll get into my work, and then the last couple of weeks I haven't been very good. But what I was doing was I was trying to close my computer at 8. 8 p.m., close the computer, wind down. So you just got to be kind to yourself, I think.
It's so hard.
Yeah, I know.
It's so hard when you run a business. And particularly now, because you're just like, fuck, it's all on me as well.
Yeah, 100%. Is there a day?
We're in an awkward fucking position because, well, we're lucky now. We were meant to be getting married in October. It's not going to happen in October now. It's being moved to April, but saving and budgeting for that at the same time as this is just a nightmare.
Yeah, I feel that. I know, I feel that. I like to take a day off a week. I really like the idea of it.
Yeah, so the idea of it for me is like Sunday. I've always got in my calendar like relax and chill.
Schedule it. Like
I have to because if I don't, like, look at my Saturday when I look at it normally is it was meant to be a day where I get like deep sort of work done, but I don't do too much. But what's happening is like my entire Saturday is just being blown out with lots of stuff. I am doing other things. Like I'm getting back into going down to the grocers and buying all my stuff as opposed to using online delivery, which has been nice.
Yeah.
Because you can't do work then.
Definitely. And I've said, we've had a really hectic kind of 2.5 weeks, and tomorrow's crazy until Sunday because we're running our shows on Sundays. Yeah. And I've said to myself, maybe I'll take Monday off. I'll tell the team that I'm offline on Monday. And I keep kind of going back and forth in my head. I'm like, do I take Monday off? Do I not? I know I'm going to feel bad if I do, but I really want to so I can get a break in after 3 weeks of nonstop work. So I don't know. You have to, like I said, you got to be kind to yourself and you got to give yourself breaks. I do feel like when I take a break, I'm much more productive the day after. Undeniably more productive because I've let my brain rest for a second and I can actually strategize and think properly.
What do you think you want to do on the Monday? What's a relaxing day look like for Suzi? You
know what? I would spend half the day probably just jamming out, put my music on loud, doing a little bit of working out, go for a proper run, enjoy, like, not just rush it in the morning to get back and shower and get ready for the day. Enjoy it, put on Drake really loudly in my garage and just jam out half the day. And then the other half, even if it's watching a movie, watching Netflix, something like that, recording some stuff with dad, talking to my family would be nice. FaceTiming with some friends who are not working like I am and just chilling during ISO. So there's two types of people. My friend said this to me the other day. There's two types of people. There's either the people that are working their asses off to stay afloat and survive during this time. And there's the people that are on JobKeeper, but they have nothing to do. So they're just chilling in their houses, doing yoga, going for runs.
Taking up bread baking seems to be like a thing.
I wish I was doing that, but that's not life. So
I don't think though that people like us could ever do that.
No,
if I'm honest, like I think the A-type personality means that it just wouldn't happen. You just find another thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And the number of people that I've had giving me a buzz and saying, Suze, what about this strategy? What if we launch this together? Why don't we do this during this time? And I'm like, okay, one thing at a time, one thing at a time.
Do you think that when you look at the industry, there'll be many businesses that will go broke, or do you think based on where things are now that you think people have learned to survive, or we're not sort of in the thick of it yet?
I think that I think people usually have stores of, 3 to 6 months of the ability to keep going even if things stop. And so I think we're in that at the moment. And I think that JobKeeper will make a really big difference. And so will the other government subsidies. But for our industry, it's a little different, you see, because unless those borders open up again and there's no kind of 14-day quarantine, we can't do what we do. And so that's why you see all the big promoters, Live Nation, all the big promoters are moving to this online model, because everyone's trying to work out how to generate revenue without touring. And so if we didn't, and we didn't make that pivot, we would die. Absolutely die. Like there would be no option, because there's no other way to make money. You know what I mean? And so do I think that businesses and people within this industry are hurting incredibly badly? Yes, absolutely. Are there people that have lost their jobs? Many, many, many people. People that, worked at venues that can just no longer work anymore. What are they supposed to do? Go stack shelves at Woolies? Okay, but it's not their calling. So I think that it's really, really difficult for the not just the entertainment industry. I'm just, going on about that because that's my industry. But it's really difficult for this industry, and a lot of people will lose their jobs, and maybe they'll get them back, but we don't know when that's going to be. We have no end in sight yet.
Do you think that, okay, let's be theoretical. I know you don't want to entertain this idea, but let's say Think Inc. no longer exists all of a sudden.
Yeah.
What would you do? If you were in that scenario, like a lot of people that have lost their jobs, what do you think you would rationally do?
Yeah, I'd probably start a new business. Yeah. I just don't think.
Just start all over again.
Yeah, I think that my life and entrepreneurship and running my own business, working for myself is what I want to always be doing. The other thing that I'm doing during this time to generate a bit of revenue is I'm working with organizations to run their events. So, for example, I'm working with UTS this week to run their conference. So maybe I would go into some sort of consulting for a little while because I know what I'm good at. But, I think at the end of the day, my passion is about raising rational discourse, sharing ideas, asking big questions. So unless I'm working on that project, I don't think I'm ever going to be fully fulfilled. And there's many ways that I could be working on that. It doesn't just have to be through live touring, but I definitely have a spark and a fire inside me for live events and live touring. So I know I haven't exactly answered your question, but to be honest, this is an incredibly difficult question to answer.
Because you don't know, because you can't perceive it right now. But I could see how you would just go. I could see how you would just take a break for a little bit and then wait for things to settle and then go do it all again.
Yeah.
Like you would just, like, what do you have in life? You've got your contacts. In these sort of businesses, you've got your contacts really in that.
And your reputation.
And your reputation, that really defines you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're really lucky that our contact base is broad and with high profile, and we're lucky that we have a great reputation that we continue to strive towards. And whatever we do, we always just want to maintain our integrity and lead in the best ways that we can. So whatever we end up doing, even if we have to pivot outside of online live events, if that becomes flooded, then we'll work it out. And I'm incredibly confident of that.
I wanna jump to some rational discourse.
Yeah.
We were talking before. I mentioned before about China as Trump.
Was that your Trump impersonation?
Yeah, that was.
I liked it.
China. What's your feel? Because I've noticed here locally. Look, we've had some people on to talk geopolitically about China in Asia and Australia's geopolitical position between America and China.
Yes.
And I think that this event has, like everything else, accelerated what was probably already going to happen. And that is, in in my opinion, here locally, people are questioning our relationship with that government, primarily because it's very well known. Even my parents are aware now how authoritarian they are.
Yes.
And the way that they treat their people, and how it's started to come to affect us, whether it's an over-reliance on things like face masks,
Yes.
medicine, or even an over-reliance on them as a country to be spending money here locally. What's your feeling on the mood with China? Because there's this whole inquiry is sort of gathering steam on both sides of politics here.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. So I think there's a couple of elements. There's definitely the political element. There is the fact that we are unsure if they're being completely transparent with what they're sharing with us, which is really tricky. We don't know whether the outbreak was caused from it just happened in China, or whether it was actually formed in a lab and then there was an outbreak of that. So there's a few things that we're not sure about. I don't know whether knowing that information, knowing the absolute truth about that's really going to change our perspective. I know that there's a lot of chatter around people saying, well, I don't want to be shipped things from China. We don't want to support that regime. We don't want to support China in general, or they're paranoid about the outbreak starting there, and they're scared that any products that come here will be contaminated. I think that there's a lot of conspiracy around it, but I also think that it is worthwhile taking a step back and thinking about the government structure that they have there, thinking about how that has affected the way that information has been transferred across even to the World Health Organization, and then considering how we go about managing that relationship. I don't believe in the conspiracy theories. I don't think we should stop things being shipped from China because they might be contaminated, because the US has a lot of stuff that we might be ordering that, and they're completely contaminated now too. So I don't think that that's fair ground, but I do think that looking at an authoritarian government and saying, well, how does this affect the rest of the world when things happen here, when we all need to come together? How will that work into the future is really important. But I do think that I lean towards having conversations around that, bringing people to the table, and as a society agreeing how we will deal with that situation. And also, as a society, creating tools and measures to protect ourselves from pandemics like this in the future, or working out ways to support those people who are more reliant on government systems, or more reliant on us finding solutions to support those that are, I guess, disadvantaged or underprivileged during these times, because they're the ones that are suffering the most. We're lucky, Jordan, us. Like, we're lucky we have our businesses. We live here in Australia. We can find solutions, but there's some people out there that cannot. And so they're the people that I'm worrying about the most. And if we don't have open dialogue in countries, we're not supporting those that need it the most, I don't know when this does happen again, because it is inevitable that there will be a future pandemic, how we will do better at supporting the underprivileged. That's kind of where my mind is.
I think the main thing, I've been impressed by the way, it's changed a lot in the last 24, 48 hours. So the intention of the inquiry that Australia is pushing is, what they really want, what Scott Morrison has said, is they want the WHO to have more power. Yeah. So they want the WHO to have the same power as, I can't remember the name of the nuclear organization, but if you're a treaty signer of the WHO, you should be able to allow the WHO to come in and inspect, I guess, your protocols and processes, and enforce or apply advice locally so that the disease doesn't affect others around the world. And I feel like, that discussion thing is an important element, because what happened after that was 24 hours later, the ambassador to China said, oh, maybe foreign students don't want to come here, or maybe we don't want to buy your beef. And so and 24 hours after that, Penny Wong and the foreign minister have pushed back and said we won't be financially coerced. So it sort of seems like to me that people realize that China may be a bad actor and that there may be other ways. There may be ways that this is going to have to be approached. It's going to be super hard. The problem is that right now we're in the middle of the pandemic.
Oh, absolutely. But at the end of the day, we will always need to maintain a relationship with China. Even if it's not in the same way that it was, I don't think that we could ever expect that we would cut off a nation like China and say, no, there's no business done with China at all anymore.
No, I think that business will be done anyway. I think Chinese people are above the government anyway, and there's still going to be fuckloads of people that come here because it's good to study in Australia. Absolutely. I think one of our previous guests, Bernard Salt, Australia is sort of becoming like the Dubai of Asia, and it's attracting more and more Asian millionaires.
Wow.
There's something like 300 million millionaires in Asia.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot, and they buy a lot of property and land.
Yeah, well, but they also want to, if you think about it, it's 8 hours direct from Beijing, or maybe it was Shanghai, because Shanghai is the more southern city. It's 8 hours direct flight to Melbourne and Sydney, basically.
Yeah.
So why the fuck wouldn't you send your kid to a top university here if you've got the money? So I don't think that's going to change. And even then, I think other countries would take up the slack.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think that there's going to be all that much change post-pandemic in regards to that. I do think, though, as a society and as a nation, we need to maintain open conversations and find solutions together. I don't think that there's a way for us to do that without really good discussion forums. And there might even be new discussion forums that arise, and there might even be new movements that arise that allow us to do that as a society. So I do foresee that into the future, especially off the back of this pandemic.
I've got to jump into some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
But before we do that, I guess I was curious, is there any one thing that you really want at the end of this? Let's say everything goes back to normal with being able to go outside.
Yeah.
Little things like going to the movies or the gym or whatever it may be. What's the one thing you want to do first?
Oh man, I need a hug. Like, seriously, physical touch, physical contact. That's what I need the most. Everything else I can deal with and I'm okay with. It's just give me a little bit of love. I need someone to hold me. And then I think I'll be okay.
Yeah. A hug would be nice.
Yeah. You live with your fiance. You can get hugs anytime.
Yeah. But this is one thing we said the other day. You do realize when you're stuck in the house with each other all the time, how much that little gap of being away from each other for 3 hours at a time, or, you've got your own little thing to go do, whether it's the gym or whatever, how important that is.
Oh, absolutely.
So we've made sure that we spend time in separate rooms every now and then. Like Lauren loves playing The Sims. It's
a really, really important point. Do not live. I've done it before. It does not end well. Do not live your life with, like, don't live together, work together, eat together, sleep together. It just does not work. Yeah, you need a little bit of separation time.
Yeah, you have to be your own person for
healthy.
Otherwise, what do you have to talk about?
Oh, absolutely.
So you need that, I think, and that'll be something. Just seeing friends, because I'm quite extroverted, and I think I never realized how much I love going to a restaurant.
Oh man, I am dying to just go and get like a wood-fired pizza.
Or even just I just love just anything shared in the middle of the table. That's what I want.
Yes. Accidentally bumping heads with someone without being paranoid.
Oh my God. Yeah. The whole awkwardness of like going in to grab something. It's like, oh no, you go.
I can't wait.
Fuck. All right. Rapid fire questions for you.
All right.
What is in the fridge at home, or what's been the go-to thing recently?
I have been in ample supply of my green juice.
Okay,
And
which has got what in it?
well, kale, celery, other green things, apple juice. I try to get the one that's like weighs heavy on the vegetable side, but I also don't want it to taste like trash. So, but also what I've been stocking up on in the freezer is my shake stuff. So I've been drinking my shakes to get my iron intake. So I get like, frozen kale and frozen spinach and berries and bananas and peanut butter, all these different things. And that's been keeping me going pretty strong.
Yeah, I love, I probably have I definitely have a big shake in the morning.
Oh, really? What are you putting in it?
Blueberry, banana, hazelnut butter, protein powder, kale, spinach, almond milk, and that's sort of avocado as well.
Yes, I've been using avocado too. But, I'm really torn about almond milk because I don't like the taste of almond milk, but it's really good in the shake. So I've been using almond milk, but then I read that farming the almonds is worse for the environment.
Yeah, we had Linda from Elmo, which is like an almond milk brand where they blend almonds that would get fed to pigs normally. So these are almonds that have got defects, and they turn it into like an almond butter paste, and then they mix it with water. So they're not doing the whole soaking process.
Oh, well, that's good.
And it's one of the few almond milks that doesn't upset my stomach.
Interesting. All right, so that's the only brand that we should be going for then.
I use that, and if I can't find it, I'll use Milk Lab, or there's one called Australia's Own, which is an organic one. They do soak it though.
Okay.
The thing that bugs me is the soaking process.
Right.
Like, do you know how that works? They literally soak almonds to get.
Is that to soften them?
It's literally to get almond milk. The almond milk is like a little bit of blended, like almond, but mainly soaked almond water.
Oh, almond water. Yeah, it's not great.
So that's the issue, and where a lot of the waste comes from.
Yeah, I know. So I use soy milk instead, but then I kind of also don't know about how they're producing the soybeans. But look, it's got to be better than pulling those teats of the cows. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Just got this weird image in my mind, like milking a cow and almonds come out. All right. Best purchase under $200 that's sort of kept you entertained over this whole period, and you could have bought it beforehand as well.
Yeah, my worst purchase under $200 was my gym equipment because it hasn't arrived yet.
Why hasn't it arrived, by the way?
When will it arrive?
No, why hasn't it arrived?
Oh, that's a great question. So I've been emailing them and hassling them and asking them. They said that they needed to get a new shipment from overseas because I guess everyone bought at the same time. And it's incredibly frustrating, but, it's the least thing that I should be complaining about. I think that the investment in my Adobe suite has come in really, really handy.
Yeah.
And software, I think investing in software at the moment has become the most handy thing and really, really kept me there. Yeah, I think that's what I've really been spending my money on is software.
Adobe and Hop-On.
And Hop-In, yeah.
Hop-In, sorry.
Still good.
All right, last question for you. Is there been a movie, doco, or TV series that you've been watching of late?
Yes. I don't know if I want to admit this publicly. I binge watched all of Kim's Convenience. Have you ever seen that show?
No, but I know it.
Yeah, it's hilarious. So I binge watch all of that. I've also been watching Grey's Anatomy, and it's really quite depressing. Like, you don't want to watch that right before you sleep. All the blood and the guts splitting everywhere. You're trying to get to sleep. You're trying to use that to wind down, but actually you just end up dreaming of like the medical table, and just not ideal. So I've been watching those. Do
you know what's funny about Grey's Anatomy? Okay, so there's a a quiz, a personality trait-based quiz that I saw recently that you
Yeah.
can do, and it defines your personality to a character on a TV show, right? So it'll do all TV shows, and it's sort of like the top 20 TV shows that have existed, and it's very accurate. Like it's very, it's made by a psychologist.
It's very accurate.
No, so
right?
they mapped out the personality traits of these individuals, and anyway, so I did it, and I'm pretty sure my number one character was what's his name, McDreamy.
Really?
Yeah.
You got the McDreamy vibes. I get it.
Personality wise. I wouldn't say looks wise. Is it McDreamy? That's his name.
Yeah, McDreamy.
Derek Shepherd. Yeah.
Derek Shepherd.
Yeah.
What a legend. So you know what show I haven't watched yet, but I heard that I would really like, and I think other people that watch your show would really like and you might like. It's called Devs. You heard of it?
Oh. Is this recently been on? No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's
I only have access because I have Foxtel, the on-demand Foxtel, and it's on there. And essentially it's pulling in theoretical physics, quantum mechanics, all this ideology and throwing it into a show. And I can't wait to get on that bandwagon because I think I'm really going to like nerd out on that badly.
Yeah, a lot of people have spoken to me about this actually.
But you know what your question should have been to me, Jordan? What book have you been reading? Because, you know...
Look right behind you.
So I've been really into my my book with David Sinclair, which is called Lifespan. Have you heard of it?
No.
David Sinclair is an Australian working out of Harvard, and they're working on and developing a cure for aging, or, in other words, finding a way to solve aging as a disease and reverse the clock. It's fascinating and it's so important, and he's someone I really want to do some work with. But that's so interesting because essentially what he's saying is that aging should be a disease. So just like, you know, cardiovascular disease or what the rest. And if we can target that, then we can live up to 150. You know what I mean?
I've read a lot about the people working in this field. Everyone knows of the guy who wrote 0 to 1 and how he injects like 25-year-olds blood into him.
Yeah.
Peter Thiel, that's it.
Yeah, Peter Thiel, what a legend, Peter Thiel.
He's very like deep on, I forgot what they call this. I guess it's the longevity movement.
Yeah.
And so I've been fascinated by it. I think what they're trying to really do is prevent cellular degeneration, which is mainly via oxidation. So it's super interesting. I remember I got into this stuff because I did my 23andMe test.
Yeah.
And then you can pull the raw data and plug it into there's a lady called Dr. Rhonda Patrick who's been on Joe Rogan's podcast quite a lot, and she has a database that will scan your genetic data and look for the key factors in your diet and lifestyle that you can start to impact to change your longevity, essentially.
Wow.
It's really interesting. Like I found out, and I had a feeling about this, but if I eat, so in my family, all of our siblings have the diabetes type 1 gene.
Yes.
My brother has type 1 diabetes. And we all have this gene that means that if we eat saturated fat, it spikes our blood glucose.
Yes.
Automatically. So that was super interesting. And basically I learned a lot about what I should be eating. And it's sort of obvious because you got to think about where your ancestors are from generally. Your body hasn't changed too much in the last 10 to 20,000 years.
Yes.
So if you can start to think about what would have been local in their food sources, that's what your body is going to be predisposed to. And so if you look at my ancestors, it is people from 2 different islands, literally island.
That's right.
On my mum's side, and on my dad's side from Cyprus, or sort of like Armenia, Turkey. So unsurprisingly, if you look at that, fish and seafood is like a big must-have for me because I don't process omega-3s very well, and I need the type of omega-3s that are in those type of products.
That's fascinating. So did you learn all of that information from your 23andMe and sending it to Rhonda Patrick's?
Yeah, so you've got to use Rhonda Patrick's tool. Her website's called Found My Fitness.
Yeah, right. That's fascinating.
I love it. Absolutely fascinating.
There were takeaways from David's book that definitely resonated with me, such as, he highly recommends intermittent fasting and, lowering your calorie count. He highly recommends exercising every day, getting your heart rate up as many days as you can during the week, getting your heart rate up for at least 30 minutes. He recommends a few other drugs that they're still doing tests on, including an extract from red wine, including a medication that's already given to diabetes sufferers, and NMN as well, which they've been working on for quite a while. So interesting. I mean, I'm really on the bandwagon. I'm kind of up for testing some of this stuff. I'm already trying intermittent fasting and exercises on point, but I don't mind trying it out. I'll be a test case dummy.
You should really look at Rhonda Patrick stuff. So she's a metabolic researcher. She's a PhD doctor. And so her thing is about health span. And her and Peter Attia is like another one. Peter Attia, MD, who's a general practitioner.
Yes.
And he's on the board of an organization that they sell like a program to people that helps them reverse type 2 diabetes.
That's great.
Through diet and changes in their life. But it's interesting you mentioned that because I think it's resveratrol, which is in red wine.
In red wine.
And
but in a very, very small quantity. You're not going to be able to drink enough red wine to get what you need.
No, you need to consume it over a lifetime slowly for it to have any significant impact.
Yeah.
What was the other one that you mentioned as well?
It's called NMN. Now, I'm not going to be able to tell you the scientific name for it, but if you Google NMN, you'll find it.
Yeah, I think it's a tablet that suppresses your blood sugar spike. I just can't remember the name of it. There's a product name that everyone talks about. Anyway, her stuff is fascinating, and Lauren absolutely loves her. She had a series, because she had a baby recently, on the things that mums can do to help grow the brain of their child, which is super fascinating.
Love that.
So anyway.
But yes, I think that asking me the book is definitely relevant, and I've been on that trip for a little while, and I got through that. I also got through Anthony Kiedis's book, Scar Tissue, which is interesting. I don't know anything about the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but I really wanted to just hear a really good or read a really good autobiography. So that was great. So yeah.
We'll make sure we reference both those. I do need to put that question in. I don't know why I've skipped that over in my notes. I've been reading a fuckload. So
what have you read?
Recently, I've been reading a lot more books related to. Well, actually, the one that I just finished was the copybook at the start of all this. But then I've read this one, which is called A Guide to the Good Life, which is sort of a deeper look at stoicism. So I've been reading a lot of psychology related stuff recently, but I've gotten back into reading deep investing type books because I've been re-looking again at the market, which I do every 3 months just to see what's going on. And I'm reading Howard Marks, his book at the moment. He's quite a famed investor. And he's sort of more in that Warren Buffett style of investing, which is like value and quality based. So anyway, that's been good. But I'll make sure Dre, our junior producer, references all that.
Fantastic.
But look, thanks for coming on.
Of course.
It's good to see you. It's good to see you smiling, as always. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, so they can find me personally and reach out to me at suzijamil.com. And they should definitely tune into our online live event series called Outside the Box, and they can find more information about that at thinkinc.org. And they should tune in. We've got some great guests coming up. We have Sean Carroll, we have Anil Seth, we have, I can't announce this one, but I'm going to anyway. We have Yasmin Mohammed, who's going to come on the program. So there's a few really, really good guests and plenty more that we've got lined up. So, check that out, and we'll keep supplying if you guys all keep tuning in.
So that was thinkinc.org.au/events. Make sure that gets referenced. And if people want to find out a bit more on, I guess, Suzi's background, there's our older episode. I can't remember the number of it. I'm sure Dre will reference it, but
yeah,
that was a good
I
one.
think it might be 131.
Really? You know it?
You're a highlight of my life. So
that's
the
good.
Uncommon podcast. We love the Uncommon podcast. So.
Like yeah, I did appreciate. I went on your website the other night, and it was like the second tile in without it. I was like, yes,
absolutely.
Right. Suzi, thanks for doing this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching Uncommon and this week's episode. If you like it, smash that like button. If you want to keep up to date with what we're doing, please do subscribe. We would love that. We'd love to build this audience that we're growing here of Uncommoners. If you want to keep up to date with audio, you can search for us on all of your good podcast apps. It's Uncommon or Uncommon Show will typically find us. For social, you want to see behind the scenes this amazing studio that I'm sitting in, just search at Uncommon_show. And everything will be there, including our weekly promos. But look, thanks so much for stopping by. Until next time, thanks for watching.